6 o'clock, so we will call the Mitchell Park and Rec Board meeting to order. Any citizens' input?
I do have one thing. Wasn't sure where to go with this. Monday night, we took a bus ride around looking at the sidewalks, and when we went around the lake, I noticed the northwest corner, which I don't get by there very often because I live in the southwest corner of town, but there's a bunch of dead trees in piles, about 3-4 of them maybe, up against the lake. I don't know what it is. It's a mowed area, but trees. But anyway, the grass has grown. They've been there quite a while. They're all dead, but there's no leaves on them. But whose responsibility is that to haul?
And it's ones that have been cut down already, you're saying?
Yes, they're in piles.
It's our parks, guys.
Okay, so what's their agenda? Like, when do they get hauled?
So-
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, get to them when we can. You know, the street department's been chip sealing streets. When they do that, all their trucks are taken up, being used. And right now, they're kind of finishing that up, so hopefully soon we'll get the tree piles picked up. They're stuff that volunteers had cut down and piled up for us.
I just didn't know who to email, so I just thought I'd bring it up.
Yep, as Steve indicated, we share dump trucks. So we have to borrow those from the street department. So when they're wrapped up with their jobs, then we get them.
Had a hard time getting around, doing something on the north side too, dead end.
The lake's been terrible right
Oh
now.
my goodness.
Closed roads all over.
If you've got more people in the audience.
Yeah. Any other citizens' input?
Got a little handout here if you guys wouldn't mind passing that around.
You want number two?
Yeah, I guess I've got a couple more over here. If you want to just toss those around, that'd be great. All right, so I'll just get started while you guys are passing that around. So, hello everybody, my name is Jacob Dami. I'm the current president of the Mitchell Tennis Association, and I wanted to thank you for the opportunity to speak here today. So Hitchcock Park stands as one of the most beautiful and vibrant centers of our community, serving as a major hub for activities and entertainment in Mitchell. It offers a wide range of recreational opportunities that draw many residents. However, I'm here to emphasize the urgency of resurfacing the 4 tennis courts that were constructed 8 years ago and discuss a plan for the remaining courts, which are nearing the end of their lifespan. As you may know, in South Dakota, tennis courts generally need resurfacing every 4 to 8 years to maintain their quality and prolong their use. Courts 1 through 4 on the handout below were poured in 2016. They're now due for resurfacing. Without this maintenance, their lifespan will be significantly shortened, and this is evident from the large cracks already appearing on the surface. We recently met with the Director of Parks and the Mayor to discuss this issue. While they acknowledged the problem, they indicated that the budget for 2025 is largely fixed. This brings us to a critical point. What are we going to do to maintain the courts we have? Our association reached out to other towns with city-owned tennis courts such as Lenox, Rapid City, Pierre, Brookings, Brandon, and Madison. On the paper in front of you, or I guess on the back side of it there, are the questions and responses from other cities. Their funding sources for maintenance varied, including allocations from the Park and Rec budget, city budget, grants, school funding, and contributions from the local associations to fund their ongoing maintenance. With the exceptions of Lenox and Madison, the other cities' courts are post-tensioned, which increases their longevity. However, none of Mitchell's 12 tennis courts were post-tensions and unfortunately are more vulnerable. If we delay resurfacing the courts now, the damage will only worsen. According to city records, courts 5, 6, and 7, or the middle 3 there, were poured in 1996 and have been resurfaced many times. However, these courts are past the point of resurfacing and are rapidly deteriorating. This could soon pose safety risks. The bottom 5 courts were poured prior to 1996, but we couldn't find any record of when they were poured. These courts are in a similar deteriorating state. So, our association encourages you to consider whether it's possible to include resurfacing costs in the 2025 budget or find alternative funding sources. Additionally, we seek to establish a timeline to address the maintenance needs for courts 5 through 12 over the next few years. It's worth noting that the City of Mitchell once had 4 city-owned courts by the high school and an additional 2 courts at Dry Run Creek Park. Unfortunately, these courts fell into disrepair due to lack of maintenance and are no longer in use. Ensuring the upkeep of our existing courts will help prevent a repeat of this situation and maintain Hitchcock Park status as a central and thriving part of our community. Your support in this matter is crucial for ensuring that Hitchcock Park remains a safe and enjoyable facility for our community. Thank you for your time and consideration. I look forward to working together to find a solution that ensures the longevity and safety of our tennis courts.
Anybody have any questions?
What's the cost?
So that was something, when we spoke with Kevin, or I guess Kevin, have Steve gotten numbers back on that?
So this can go two ways. This is citizens input. We're really isn't supposed to be open discussion.
Oh,
If we want to
okay.
go that direction, I guess that's going to be up to you, because there's other people in the room.
Yeah.
That same way, but Steve and I have not communicated regarding that in 3 days, because I've been going on a conference. You want to comment on that?
To have the courts resurfaced, it's about $7,500 to $8,000 per court, just to have that surfacing put on them. There's other things you had on your list, like lights and whatnot, so waiting for Muth to give me a quote on that type of stuff, and right now, that's all we got is for the resurfacing. And as far as looking at redoing the mother courts, that's gonna take a whole set of plans and stuff like that.
I would say specifically on that flyer, courts 1 through 4, the resurfacing, I guess, in our association's mind is kind of the highest priority, just because we poured those 8 years ago. South Dakota, we're typically looking at 4 to 8 years. They encourage you to stay closer to that 4 years. We're at 8 years, and we just wanted to make sure that the city was planning for some type of resurfacing for them. All right,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Any other citizens input?
I'm not here for tennis courts, but I did look at them. They're pretty bad, so we should talk about that, Kevin. But I came here for the dog park shelter. We're working on the ADA thing, and I talked to Kevin just a little bit about this. I meant to get this on the agenda, but there's a lot of stuff going on in town I'm trying to track. But working with Joe, the engineer, and then Terry, he said if we could move the dog park shelter like right by the front door, just inside the door, and I talked to some of the dog park people. They said we would have to do less cement, it'd be easier for ADA stuff. In the winter, some people could go in there and they wouldn't have to walk like a couple hundred yards. So I'm not asking you to make a decision now. Hopefully we'll get on the next agenda. You guys just think about it and talk about it, and then we can, same exact plans, just a different location. Since all that's actually been poured with cement, and I can just have someone pour cement, maybe another 10 feet or whatever, make it ADA accessible.
There's concrete all the way up past the gate here.
Yep.
So it would just be going through and then another 20, 30.
Probably not even, you're probably walking 5 feet inside. It'd be right there, right where your mouse is, right in that area. So, not asking for any decisions, just think about it, and then we'll get on the next agenda, and you guys just roll it around a little bit.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks. Any others?
You'll go on to number 8 on the agenda.
Are there any delegations? Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda? If not, I need a motion to approve the agenda.
I move to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Minutes.
There's 2 sets of minutes. The
Oh.
regular and the special.
Oh, because we had this special meeting or whatever. Okay. So do I need to do 2 motions then, or can you just pass them all together? All right. Anybody have any questions for anything, on anything? I need a motion to,
I'll make a motion to approve the August minutes along with the special meeting.
I'll
I'll
second. Go ahead. One of us two, pick one. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next, approval of financial reports. Kevin, anything out of kind of standard?
Nothing to me. Steve, Kevin, Jeremy, anything that jumps out at you that we should highlight? Kevin and I talked about concessions revenue at the Aquatic Center. People will notice that's down this summer.
Yeah, the one thing I can say about that, Jamie tracks, the amount of patrons that come in every month, and June was a pretty cool and rainy month, and so we were down, from the previous year, we were down 5,000 patrons for that month, which, when you consider what they could be spending in concessions, even an average of $2 a person, you're looking at $10,000 there that we're losing there. So, but July was a really good month, so that helped. And August being open another week longer because school started a little bit later, helped bring that back up a little bit.
Outside of that, I didn't see anything that was out of the ordinary that would need to be noted.
How did the campground do overall for the summer? Is that on here?
Well, the season isn't over yet.
Yeah.
When's that last day in the campground?
It's open year round.
Oh, is it? Do we have any long or short-term rentals out there?
We've got right now 6 people that are out there. 4 of them are part of the Whiskey Board Construction that's doing the wetland project. We've got one for the soybean plant, and then another one that's out there. And they will all be there through like October, just going by the month. They pay online by month. Yep. Yeah, we're not set up because in October, as the temperatures turn, they'll shut down the water, shut down the restrooms, so if you're not completely self-contained, yeah.
When you look at campground expenditures here this season, we've also got a dock and a lift that were installed this year that are in that range of $50,000 between the two.
Did we get any rentals on that due to the price? I kind of saw the price on there and a little bit. I know it's new, but I was just curious.
It's not only that it's new, when you compare to other places, what they're renting them for,
Yeah.
it's right in the ballpark.
But we can't eat the fish. You can't, do water sports out on the lake right now. So did we consider that when you guys were pricing it, since it's basically a patrol out in the lake and just kind of chill versus active sports like you have in some of the other lakes?
What we did consider is staffing costs in terms of if somebody needs to come in to do a rental, automatic 2 hours of pay on Saturday to come in, automatic 2 hours of pay to come in, again, to close it down. And if that's at an overtime rate, if you don't at least price it to where you're making a little bit above what the staff expense was,
Yeah, so we're still in the hole then. Do we have any rentals?
no, not yet.
Okay, if everybody's done, I need a motion to approve financial report.
I make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Department reports.
Does anybody have any questions for me? The one thing I did want to highlight in mine, I know we don't go over them, but we did have one staff member retire, Joe Heyer, who has been our maintenance guy at the rec center for 31 years, retired, and his last day was on Wednesday. So, yeah, he'll be missed. He knew a lot about the building, obviously, being there for that long, so. But does anybody have any other questions about anything?
How did the numbers for flag football turn out?
For youth flag or the men's? Adult, we had 10 teams, so we were down 2. Couple of the, we got 8 teams from MTC. After last night was the first night that we started. 2 of the teams ended up not having enough players, so we are going to combine those 2 together so they can still play. So it'll be down to 9 teams, but
They're not going to play both spots?
no, they're not. They found out they needed more guys than they had on their roster last night. But one of the reasons we're down 2 teams, 2 of the teams kind of retired. They were kind of older teams that had been playing for a while, and they were in their mid-30s probably. And the 5-on-5 flag football gets to you a little bit, so they call their quits. We're hoping they'll come back and referee for us.
Just reading through where we at. Oh, wait, maybe this is, never mind, keep going. I'll ask later.
Yeah. Any other questions? All right.
This one's going to be a big question, Steve. Why don't you give an update while we're sitting with that?
Yeah, I was
That was
going
what I was going to ask. 'Cause I just
highlight on
happened to
that.
read it, I was like, where are we at on that?
Yeah, Pat Young, we had a setback on it. The plans, it kind of called for a beveled edge. We assumed it was between the tile and the wood mulch, so we had the tiles are about 3 inches thick, so we had a curb line kind of poured to make up that difference to separate them. Installer came and said, no, that's not right. It's the tiles actually have a beveled edge. The plans weren't cleared, so we had that curb installed and we basically had to remove it, which it's been removed, and now we're back to just waiting for the installer to come back to town.
He returned from a long
Vacation,
He's a professional dive instructor, and that he returned from vacation yesterday. He'd been told we're first on his list, and that's supposed to be next week.
so with it being this close to the weekend, like I said, he'd probably be next week, hopefully. So we was hoping to say, yeah, we were done, it was open, whatnot this month, but kind of had a setback. And I guess other than that, they started putting rock in for the jetty at the west end boat ramp. And the bike trail's going in too out there. Or just a trail, I guess, not bike trail.
It'll be pouring, is my understanding, by the 23rd, start pouring concrete.
It's full concrete all the way?
Yep, it's supposed to be concrete, 6 inches thick, 8 feet wide.
Does the budget allow for it to go all the way?
Sounds like there's some negotiations going on with Palace City Peddlers to extend that 134 feet from,
Is that what it is, 134 feet?
No, it's 176 feet. According to Eric, the engineer,
okay. And I saw 2 different figures in 2 different emails.
I've seen a whole lot of different figures. That's the one that came
Where's
to
this
Battle
at?
City Peddlers.
Okay.
Where to where?
Which was what,
Franks Bay,
16,000?
West End,
Yep.
or West End.
Yeah, where's the
Lions.
extra feet?
They're not extra, it's just where they ran out of money.
Got it,
They're not extra feet. It's just at what point on the trail do they run out of money?
got it.
And the concrete guy doesn't show up anymore. How much is it per foot? for that?
I think the total figure they came out with was 16,000, so I would think it was like $8 a square foot. Take that times 6 feet wide, 8 feet wide, excuse me. So $48 a foot going forward. 64, 8 times 8.
So which end is the planned runout? Franks Bay side or West End side?
What's the end or what's the starting point?
Yeah, where's the starting point, where's the ending point?
I believe they were starting on the west end.
And working towards Franks Bay?
Yeah, that's what I understood.
Run out in the gravel somewhere, or?
Well, I think what they're going to leave is at the west end at Lions Point Park, that they're not going to go all the way with the concrete.
So when would you have to have a decision from the Palace City Peddlers by?
That's an engineering question.
They're not here.
Nope.
So
Clayton,
no answer.
soon.
Yeah, that's what I figured. Okay.
I didn't know this question was going to come up.
Okay, Jeremy?
That must be where you called.
What's that?
You tried phoning me earlier.
Yep.
Or where were we? Steve, you got anything else?
I'll just hit a couple things. Had a soccer tournament, 41 teams on the 7th and 8th. That went really well. We had a little soccer tournament earlier. They plan on doing another one in the spring. Started the ice arena up. Lions logos are down, painting, creases, finishing that tonight. Everything will be in, just building up ice after that. We have to have it ready by Wednesday, and they have their first learn to skate type thing on next Thursday. Camps on Tri Hockey Free, the 21st. Hockey practices start the 30th. Power Play Clinic, October 4th to 6th. Figure skating will start next Friday. Still outside with Wesleyan, baseball, softball, soccer, Mitchell soccer, Park and Rec football.
New heaters are installed.
Heaters are installed in the south rink. Muth wired them up. Paulson's coming back on Monday to make sure everything's good. Any other questions?
Kevin, will any closures need to take place when they reline the sewer pipes at the rec center?
We shouldn't have to close any part of the facility down. There will be water shut off in our adult locker rooms, the hot tub and steam room, and the 2 bathrooms back there. But as they go along, they're going to start lining, I believe, the south part and go through the locker rooms first so they can get that water turned on. As they repair stuff and reline it, they'll turn water back on as they go, which that's going to start September 30th is when they're coming to reline that. And first day, day and a half will be more cleaning out things, and then they'll start the relining process Tuesday or Wednesday. Should be done within a week. So, but all of the different rooms and stuff will be open.
Expecting any smells that are excessive?
He says no, so,
I'm not talking sewer, I'm talking epoxy.
yeah. I don't think so, because everything's underground already, so I don't think so.
Go in somewhere.
Yeah, I think they go in from the outside there.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm leaving this pulled up because it pertains to one of our other items on the agenda.
that where we're at? Okay. Move on to discussing possible permitting of non-stationary park vendors.
So just to note that Clifford's here, he's a possible vendor. He is a vendor, but he's one who would like to vend within parks. And I had him come just to kind of give a pitch for what he'd like to do. This isn't a choosing to make action or not make action tonight. It's just a pitch on why he would like to be able to vend within the park.
Hello, my name is Cliff Chamberlain. I have a small business. It's Clifford's Doggone Cart. And really what we do is we do hot dogs and lemonade. I've been all over South Dakota. Yankton is where we spend a lot of time, Yankton, Madison, Sioux Falls. And I teach here at Dakota Wesleyan. And so now that the school is back in session, I need to keep the business more localized to where I'm at because I can't run all the way down to Yankton. And so what I did was I was looking at possible places to set up. So I contacted the head coaches for not only Dakota Wesleyan, the baseball, soccer, softball, but also the Mitchell Baseball League and the youth soccer. And the reason why is because I know there's a lot of kids that are out at these parks playing games, and I know that there's no concessions for them. So kind of my shtick as a company is we provide value products at a reasonable price. And so it fits really well selling to kids and to families that are actually out there at these parks. Some of these games, I know for like Dakota Wesleyan, they'll play the soccer matches will be back to back, and we'll play first and then women, and there's nothing out there. When I was talking to the different coaches, they all love the idea. They just said that the issue is that they don't own the parks. It's a city thing. But I know currently that at, like, for instance, the Pepsi field. The concession stand, even though there is one there, it's not in a state to actually be used, and it hasn't been used since, I believe, COVID, which is what one of the coaches told me. That's the reason why it would be ideal for somebody like me to be able to provide concessions for these different groups, because while all of the coaches love the idea, they do not have the manpower to do it themselves. Either as a volunteer basis or as part of their programs. So all of the different coaches said, we would love to have you come out, just let me know what we need to do. So that's why I reached out to Kevin, and he said, well, there's not a process yet because it's not been raised. So that's kind of why I'm here, is figure out what we need to do to make this happen.
I will note that Clifford is one of two vendors who reached out asking if they could possibly be a part of that soccer tournament last weekend. And we didn't have a policy in place to be able to do such. We have the code here, which I have highlighted or bolded. No person shall sell or offer for sale any article or operate any concession without first securing a written permit from the Park and Recreation Board, which shall have the power to fix and collect fees for such permits. So we haven't developed a permit. We have no fee for such. If we had a fee, he's asking for multiple parks to be able to go to different events. Would that be different? I assume it'd be different if we were to issue a permit. If we were to have a permit process at all, would we have a bidding process to be able to do that? Because if somebody wants in, would they be the only one allowed in? Or, so a lot of discussion. Any questions of Clifford while he's here?
No. Me from the outside looking in and been doing all that stuff for my whole life, you gotta be thanking somebody to want, there's a reason why I'm assuming why the concession stand ain't open in soccer is because there's no money to be made. And when you're at an event, there's two things you need is bathrooms and concessions. And sometimes they don't have it. So, I mean, the bidding and stuff, it's not open for a reason. You know, I understand that they get permission, but
It's twofold at the concession stand out there. One is it's in disrepair at the moment. The counters.
I read that.
So it's gotten, and it's just gotten away from us. Jeremy Staffen cleaned it up 2 years ago. Last year it didn't get addressed again, but he had the understanding someone was going to use it, and they didn't. But even there, the laminate on the countertops is starting.
I understand all that. But if there's no concession stand, my point of view is take anybody that you can get to get there. If there's no, like, you can't have them go to the swimming pool, but, because they got concessions, but anything that don't, it's just a bonus.
What are other communities doing? If you travel around, like in Yankton and Sioux Falls, and what are other communities doing?
Well, each city has their own permitting process as far as, coming to sell. Currently, Mitchell doesn't have anything, which is really nice and welcoming. But you have like Yankton, which is comparable sized city. Their fee is $10 a year to sell. Sioux Falls, it's $150.
Are there, like in Yankton, are there restrictions as to which place, like obviously going to the public pool is not going to be welcomed by the city because the city makes money on the concession stand there. Right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, so is that the way theirs is written, I guess, is what I'm asking? Or is it written that you can't go where there's already concessions that are supplied, or is it just open, or how do they have it?
How it works in a lot of the different communities, and it's case by case. For instance, in Sioux Falls, which really is the highest standard, you can, for instance, I looked at parking downtown after the meter shut off at 6 o'clock, wide open. You don't even have to ask permission from the business owners or anybody. You can just do whatever you want, essentially. As long as you're out by 2 o'clock in the morning, you can set up there, no problem. There's no fee associated with that after you've paid the $150 to actually operate a business in Sioux Falls. Where in Madison, for instance, not only you don't have to pay anything to operate in Madison, however, you have to get permission from the business that you are parked in front of to be able to operate. Obviously, it's for the exact reasoning that you pointed out. They don't want me to park in front of somebody and take the business of the business that's already there.
So
Same thing.
Hungry Dog, if they were still open, you couldn't park in front of there. That'd be.
Unless he or she or whoever's actually owning and operating that, or owns the property, allowed it, then that'd be a different case. So same thing would go for, the different swim pools or any other property. It's owned by somebody, and so essentially what it'd be is, because it'd be owned by the city, then the city would have to give permission to actually do that.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yep.
So what about waste? So if you come in and maybe you pay $10 for the permit, what do you do to keep your space clean when you get there, during, and after?
That's actually one of the real benefits of actually having a food truck come in. Mine is actually a cart. It's just a little small hot dog cart. It's a 4x6 trailer that I pull behind. I set up canopies to keep everything, clean so that nothing falls on it. As far as the waste goes, it's a completely self-enclosed unit, so I don't need power. It runs on propane that I bring in. I bag out all my trash, and then we leave it cleaner than we came in.
Okay, so you're actually putting garbage cans out for whoever is eating your food?
Yes.
And that's where, for the most part, that's where you're going to encourage the garbage to go versus
Yes.
putting that waste burden on the city or
Mhm.
parks and rec guys to have to pick that up?
Yes.
Okay.
And one other piece, because it is relevant as far as pricing goes. In Sioux Falls, if you actually wanted to operate a food truck in the city parks, it's a $50 a day fee that you have to pay.
Okay, so you're kind of back to the city.
Yeah, and it's to help, yep. So that's in addition to the license. If you were to consider something, consider a day rate for that as well. Keep in mind that the population of Sioux Falls is 10 times the size of Mitchell. So it's a lot easier to make back that $50. One of the things about my cart specifically, and the reason why it fits really well, is because we are trying to create a public good. Most companies operate at a much bigger profit margin than we do. more like 60%. Ours is 10%. Because what we're trying to do is be a value proposition for people. The most expensive thing actually on our card is $8. So everything is, a kid's meal is $6 for us. And what we're trying to do with that is create a value for people that, are on the go. So it's not like I'm here trying to make a whole bunch of money off of the park or the systems that you guys have in place. It's simply that a lot of these families are coming to these different events, and they're there for a very long time, and there's nothing currently to feed them. And for instance, even the Pepsi, you're probably a 10-minute drive from any actual food that you can have. So it's, once you're there, you're essentially there.
I just think we need to be careful when we write this, because you're doing it for the right reasons. But there's going to be a situation 3 years from now, when we're sitting at this table, that it's not going to be for the right reasons. And so I think whatever we do, we need to word it correctly.
We have a city attorney we'll bring into the thought
Yeah,
process.
right,
Before we
right.
look to sign anything.
I did have another question. So with your season, you're saying that when you're not teaching school, you're out of town, basically. So are you thinking that you would be bringing in your food truck, like, for a month, basically, September, October, or actually doing it throughout the summer with some of the tournaments that are happening around here? What's your thoughts on?
Ultimately, what I would like to do, this is a business that I'm running with my two sons and my wife. And what we're trying to do is actually step up into a food truck so that we can actually extend the season further. But it's been going really well for us as a family. And we've actually had some pretty good reviews, actually written up in the Mitchell Republic. And so that's what we're trying to do as far as that goes. And honestly, what we'd like to do is there's a need here. There's absolutely a need, which is the reason why all of these different coaches said that they would love to have us out. Well, that's enough of a business opportunity for us as a family to continue operating in that sphere.
So you don't really have a length of time that you'd be doing it. It's basically nice weather, that's when you'd be on the mountain.
Essentially, the way it works with us, we can operate. I don't want to just pull up on the side of the road and just try to sell hot dogs. But even in cold weather, I can, because we have a four-season tent, so we can actually extend the season quite far.
I think there are opportunities for youth baseball tournaments and the likes as well. We don't run concessions during a tournament out there, Jeremy? Or do we?
On the 8 softball fields, we do. So softball nights, tournaments on weekends, but just over there, the Drake concessions, I believe this will be the 3rd year that no one has run.
What about when they do tennis, like with the middle school and the high schoolers coming, they have that weekend over at Hitchcock?
Yeah, we don't have any options other
You guys
than just
don't put that, right?
unless they want to walk over to the pool and use the pool's concessions. So
There's lots of tennis stuff.
Lots of tennis
Lots
stuff.
of
I know, well, my daughter's.
Yeah. So there's
And they spend
tons of
hours there,
opportunity.
and she has to pack lunch, and so it's kind of just thinking outside the box a little bit. That would be awesome at Hitchcock.
I'm down for it.
I didn't see anything. I haven't seen anything. I see some of the markets or the little craft things like on Wednesdays. That's done, right, at Hitchcock now?
Farmers market.
The farmers market, yeah. Okay.
So I have a question because I don't know anything about food trucks.
Yes, sir.
I would assume they're all inspected, health code, stuff like that. Is that correct?
That's a really good question. Thank you for yes, they are. I'm licensed and insured through State Farm, and so yes, there's a permitting process that you have to go through, and it's an annual inspection. And just like a normal restaurant, the food inspector, health inspector can stop by at any time and do a spot check. So but at least once a year that they end up doing that. In addition to that, as far as the insurance goes, the way it has to happen if you operate in the city of Sioux Falls is you have to add the city of Sioux Falls.
Additional insured.
Yes, as an additional insured, so that they are protected in case anything were to happen with the cart. And if you were to want that or need that, that is a very easy thing to do, to add to the insurance. It's a very minimal cost.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anything you care to add regarding Cadwell? Or you, Kevin, regarding the pool concessions? Do we sell hot dogs?
We do sell hot dogs, but we don't have meals. You know, like you provide a meal or whatever. We're a little bit limited in what, just because it wasn't built very big, on what we can serve for hot food and things, but, yeah, it'd be something to potentially look at.
I think it'd be great. We got Drake concessions and soccer concessions that no one has leased in a few years for time reasons and money reasons and getting people to do it. But like Dan said, if someone is here that wants to do it, I think it'd be great. You or anyone else.
So it sounded like we should explore this with the legal team.
You as a vendor, if we had 4 people that wanted to show up and do a particular park, would you want to know that in advance, or would you want to think that you're the only one going, or what are your thoughts?
It would depend on the event, realistically. We were just at an event, a car show in Hy-Vee in Sioux Falls, and they invited everybody, and there ended up being 8 food trucks for 60 cars. And nobody made any money. So typically what ends up happening is if there is a coordination, like with a tournament, if they are going to have food trucks, then they try to balance it so there's not two hot dog carts or 2 whatever, so that you have a variety, but without it being too much, so that everybody can make money. And one of the reasons why a food truck will be effective versus, re-outfitting your building at the Pepsi field is simply because as a food truck, we are actually taking on the burden. And, it's built in the pricing. If it doesn't work out for us, then we can actually just walk away and say, well, we tried it and it didn't work. Whereas it's a much higher burden if you guys were to outfit and then staff these different concession stands. And then the last thing for you also is that we're a small business that's actually promoting small business. We get our hot dogs actually custom made from Casey at Hartford Creekside Meats. So it's not like it's concession stuff being brought in. It's actually good quality products that's actually supporting local small businesses.
We talked about coordination of vendors. Would that be done by an association, by parks who were administering the permits going out? Or what's your thought on that?
As far as typically, if you're going to have an event like the soccer tournament, it'd be whoever's actually coordinating the soccer tournament would be doing that.
Allowing those people in versus just somebody coming in and saying, I want a permit to go out there. But if we
Yep.
issued an open permit for somebody to vend, and they see there's a soccer tournament, they may just want to show up. How do we limit that in your mind?
Well, you could either have a limited number of permits for that. You could also limit it by a fee per day. Or you can do it by, these are the parks that you can actually vend at. So it'd be a limited permit. Say 2 or 3 only vendors can do at Caldwell Park, and 2 or 3 can only do at the soccer field. You can do it that way. There's a couple different ways that works for you. The other way you could, if you have somebody on staff, the parks, whoever's in charge of the parks could actually manage that if they wanted to take on an additional responsibility. I'm already saying a no. So it really comes down to whatever's the most convenient. And what I will tell you, though, is that most food trucks, it's probably not going to be an issue. Food trucks will only want to gravitate towards this if there's a tournament, because there's a lot of families out there. And so you'd only really need to be concerned with those. Most food trucks, how they have to operate is they need to make between $400 and $800 in sales, even to break even. And so they would look at a Little League game or even a soccer game and say, it's not worth my time to go out there. And so they probably wouldn't do it multiple times. They might do it once, but it's probably not going to be a significant factor from my perspective as a vendor, because a lot of the other vendors they would sort themselves out and they'd realize that there's better opportunities than to fight for this. We just happen to be uniquely suited to actually sell to this demographic.
So since it's public knowledge, if somebody can come and ask what we make on a concession stand, what would be a typical deposit on the concessions night from the softball rink?
On a slope at softball night, $400 to $500.
Do you guys sell beer out there?
No, it is candy,
Okay,
minimal drinks, and the only hot food we have is hot dogs and hamburgers.
sure.
And we only do hamburgers for tournaments. Kids don't like to eat hamburgers, they like to eat hot dogs.
True enough. There's a reason that's a hot dog cart.
Warm a little longer, too. Any further questions for Clifford? Gives us some definite discussion here.
No, but thank you for coming in. It's a great idea.
Thank you.
Awesome serving the community. Next discussion is possibly creating and adopting a policy of adding regulated signage to not allow e-bikes on the pump track at Kiwanis.
Want to talk to it, Dwight?
I can. I'm Dwight Scott. I'm with Palace City Peddlers. One of the reasons I brought this to Kevin's attention is that I went out the day after we worked on the pump track and found two, not e-bikes, but I would call them e-cycles out there.
Like the class 2 or class 3 with
Right.
throttle.
Yeah, throttle only. And it's like, we have no motorized vehicles. That would be a motorized vehicle. But obviously, because we've got lots of motorized things on there. So I was just wondering if there's other signage that we need to put up.
While he's noting that, at the South Dakota Park and Rec Association conference I went to this week, Sioux Falls just went to allowing class 2 bikes, which have the throttle, and they can go up to 20 miles an hour on their trails. But what he's talking about is a dirt track, one to where if they're coming off of a hill and they're gunning the throttle and not pedaling, and they hit the ground and it's spinning and tearing up the track. So
I think about it more from a danger standpoint. You hit that back berm and you fly over the top, you're gonna land on a fence. Those things move, those e-bikes move.
And the other thing is if you have young people out there riding a regular bike on the pump track and you have e-bikes out there, you're looking at a safety issue as well. I'm inclined, I think there are places for e-bikes. I mean, I think you're seeing them more and more. The people in here that bike with me know how I feel about e-bikes, but I think that you do have to post it now that e-bikes are a pretty common thing. Motorized vehicles, there are some people that don't look at their e-bike as a motorized vehicle. They don't, when you see non-motorized on the trail, people don't really think e-bike, because so many places e-bikes are acceptable, including on many of our trails, right? So the class 1. But there are people that don't know what they have, especially young people. If they're riding those, they don't know the difference between a class 1, 2, or 3. They're on a, until they get caught, they're on a moped, right? And then you catch them like, oh no, it's a bike. Yeah. And so I think you do have to maybe put some specific signing on maybe like the pump track where it is no e-bikes. I'm just thinking, I mean, we gave away, well, we didn't, Northwestern Energy gave away an e-bike at a bike race here in town, and that thing requires no pedaling. So, I mean, cool little bike. The kid that won it thinks it's awesome. And it is awesome, it's just maybe not awesome on the pump track, because it will do more damage just from the spinning and things like that. So that person thinks they're riding a bicycle, by the way. I mean, so if they saw a sign that said no motorized vehicles, that to them is not necessarily motorized. There's not a gas-powered engine. And I think there's the difference.
So the wording you might be suggesting that we bring to the board to adopt next month might be?
Pedal bicycles only?
Well, and I think they make signs because, here's my thought safety-wise, if they put one of these electric bikes out there, is us, the city, responsible if they get injured because it's not posted? Because it's city property, right? These paths are on city land, right? So therefore, the city would be responsible if somebody got injured. So it's a really good point. I mean, I was on Mickelson Trail 2 weeks ago in Rapid. I'm telling you what, those bikes are beefy and they haul. But I've been around the lake in some of those paths, and I can see where the city would be liable.
I heard also at this conference that the U.S. Forest Service adopted a policy saying no e-bikes. And then somebody asked him a question over the phone, well, who monitors it? And there was a chuckle. Like, we've adopted the policy. Because you decided to break that rule or that law, the onus is shifted back toward the person who's doing that because they don't allow e-bikes on there. But because they're not monitoring, there's probably some liability that goes both ways. But
Because I think on Mickelson, it's not posted. I think it's in walking trails, and then they've got the ATVs or the side-by-side trails that are not on the same, they're in the same area, but not on the same trail, so.
The Mickelson does allow e-bikes, it's just not, there's certain classes.
Not the ones that you're talking about.
Correct.
I didn't even know they had those. I'm behind the time.
2 and 3 both have the throttle, but the one goes up to 28 miles an hour.
That's down.
So on our trails
Yeah.
around the lake, it has no motorized vehicles. An e-bike is really illegal to be out there because motor is electric or internal combustion, and a vehicle is anything that carries a person or product. I happened to look that up after this, just to try to figure out what we actually have.
So on all of our trails right now, that's the way it's called.
No
Yes, that's not
motorized
motorized
vehicles
So we need
posted.
to change signage probably everywhere at some point here. Or add. Well,
Class 1.
Class 1 e-bikes would be allowed, right? Not on the pump track, but on the rest of the trails.
That would be
It should be, I
Yeah.
mean,
And there's e-bikes running it right now.
Because you're having
Oh.
to pedal to make it go.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, and you would want to take that away from people, because that's a huge lane point for seniors. I mean, for those who can't.
Not even
pedal.
seniors.
I'm like, I can go on these bikes, and pedaling is for the young people. But, to think about that, we don't want to get rid of that aspect for exercise care either. We don't want to go, oh, you can't have that, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, we can't do anything in this one.
They're a pretty entrenched thing in the community as well.
So we'll have to bring back that one at another time.
I'm sure there's some models in other cities that we can look at that are pretty good.
I think most cities, a Class 1 is accepted
Right.
across the board, but I think once you get past, I'm thinking Cuyuna, the Class 1 is accepted in their state park system in Minnesota. I believe the Class 2 and 3 is not.
Well, on some of those lake trails, I would not be putting that bike on there. Electric bike, no way. Some of those are kind
Thanks, Dwight. Any other discussion?
I will note that next meeting will be Angel's last meeting because she'll be retiring next month.
Yep, after 27 years, my last day will be October 25th. And you all be invited to my retirement party that I'm going to make Kevin throw for me.
Date to be determined. That's her favorite holiday.
There you go. Well, the next meeting would be, what's the date? 10th? Oh, wait, that's
It'll be the 10th.
10th of October. Everybody all right? Okay, meeting adjourned.